Ms. Gregg, you keep looking at your lawyers, and look, you can listen to your lawyers, but I want you to hear me. You and you alone will make this decision. There are two decisions that you're required to make, whether or not you're pleading guilty and whether or not you're testifying. And at the end of this, only you will live with those decisions. Have you made a decision whether or not you wish to testify?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and what's that decision?
I'd like to wait and see what the testimony...
No problem.
You participated in a case concerning Carly. Do you remember that?
I do.
What was your participation in that?
So I drove out there to assist. I came from the interstate. Whenever the call came out, I didn't know the full details of it, but I knew what we were doing. I came out there to assist look for her. I looked to my right. I saw her standing there, a female. That's what I knew we were looking for. I immediately put the car in park. I hopped out. I said, "Are you involved in this incident that happened in this neighborhood?" She goes, "Yes, sir, I am. Is my stepdad okay?"
Now, she talked to you, I think, at some point about asking to see her mother. Is that correct?
Asking to see her mother?
Yes, she asked to see her mother.
I don't recall that.
I guess you can put it in my vehicle with my key. Key fob is in my left pocket.
All right, so go ahead and take it. All right.
Is my stepdad okay?
I don't know, baby. I can't talk to you about it. Are you okay?
Yeah, fine.
She don't even know about her mom.
Carly reported to the clinicians at Vital Core on March 28th, and then again a month later, that she'd been having command auditory hallucinations.
What are command auditory hallucinations?
So auditory hallucinations are hearing voices, and they can be of different content. They're often critical, for example. I had asked Carly several different times whether she had had command auditory hallucinations when I interviewed her. She said no, very definitively each time. So I was surprised to see that she had told the Vital Core clinicians that in fact she'd been having command auditory hallucinations, including ones that were telling her her mother. Certainly in the week or weeks leading up to the incident, the voices were becoming more prominent, more urgent, more of a problem, and likely really had crossed over into the domain of what I would call psychosis.
Based on your experience, expertise, and evaluation of Carly, do you believe that Carly was able to understand the nature of her conduct and appreciate the difference between right and wrong at the time this incident occurred on March 19th?
I don't think so.
As we're gearing up for another big day of testimony in this case, let's look back at the case presented by Carly Gregg's defense team, which included the questioning of a responding officer about his body camera footage and the department's protocols.
You have a policy and procedure with the Rankin County Sheriff Department.
That's correct.
And it says you're not supposed to mute it and you're not supposed to turn it off, correct?
That's correct.
And you're in the middle of an investigation.
That's correct.
And you're the person that has custody and control of the suspect at this point.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustained as to leading.
Who had custody and control when you turned your body cam off?
She was in my vehicle, but she had other investigators that were then assisting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was out of the car. She was just still in there.
And I think, is there any time that you can ever turn or mute when you're on, I guess, still performing your duty on a case?
Well, during this particular situation, I was talking about something that was not involved in the case. I was talking about a personnel issue, so that's why I did it.
Okay, so you intentionally violated your policy.
Objection, Your Honor.
On what basis? Leading. Sustained as to leading.
What is the policy on the Rankin County Sheriff Department's use of body cams?
Yeah, I mean, the policy is that you're to, whenever you are actively communicating with the public or with the suspect or what have you, that you remain with the body camera on.
Would you want to review it just to make sure you understand? Is it, because I'm confused, is it just when you're communicating, or are you supposed to have it on all the time while the case is going on?
Well, you're supposed to carry it on all times while the case is going on, but at the time I was talking about something different, so yeah, I muted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been exculpatory evidence or something like that that's the reason why you muted?
No.
Okay. Now, she talked to you, I think, at some point about asking to see her mother. Is that correct?
Asking to see her mother?
Yeah, she asked to see her mother.
I don't recall that.
Okay. Didn't you have a report and you put in your report?
I don't recall that. I don't recall saying.
You didn't know what to tell her exactly?
Well, yeah, it wasn't I didn't know the details of the case to tell her anything.
Mm-hmm. And so, but she was asking at that point, okay, she was asking to see her mother, correct?
No, she never asked about her mother. She only asked about how her stepdad was.
Mm-hmm. And so there was never any time where she asked about her mother?
I don't recall that.
Okay. May I beg the court's indulgence?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time we would ask that we be allowed to publish his or play the video, his body cam video. Yes, Your Honor, we have a copy of the video of this officer that we would ask to enter into evidence at this time.
Okay.
Can I open this? Sure.
Oh, hey, without being loud, there's one dude. He's in there, she does. She's asking like how everybody feel and what to. She's like, I didn't mean to. Yeah, dude. All right, so get these. So look, come here. All right, so that's gonna be for your that's gonna be for right hand. All right, left hand. All right, gonna turn them. Look, I'm gonna show you right there. All right, you're gonna do on the right hand. You're gonna do the palm. Okay, I'm just showing you in the back of the hand. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Then whenever you get through, you're gonna turn it in. All right. All right. You're gonna open it, turn it back in. All right. When you turn it back in, then when you get ready to do this, and it's right there. Close this and put that over it. Okay. Yes, sir. Hey, you just gotta get back. Okay. All right. Yeah, let me get it. I got a cuff on her. I got her handcuffed. All right, sweetie. Look. Let me step out real quick for me. All right. Hey, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them around to the front of you, okay? I'm going to move the handcuffs around to the front of you. Okay. All right. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to swab your hands, okay?
Yeah.
Right. I'll ask you a bunch of questions, but obviously you fired with a pistol, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, look. I need you to hold your hand out like this. I'm going to do your right hand first, okay? That's your right hand. Like that.
Up here. It's a GSR. It shows which hand did you shoot with?
Okay.
Which hand did you shoot with?
Go up.
Flop the hand, turn the hand over.
Okay.
Rub on that outside part around the knuckles. Where do you want
I just want this one. I guess you can put it in my vehicle with my key fob is in my left pocket.
All right, so go ahead and take it. All right.
Is my stepdad okay?
I don't know, baby. I can't talk to you about
Oh, just here. I'm just.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
What do you think of Carly Gregg? Was she insane at the time that she killed her mother and tried to kill her stepfather? Was she? Is she just a little psychopath? Let's bring in our guests, see what they think. Entertainment law and trial attorney Lee Hutton and criminal defense attorney Eric Schwartzreich on the program. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Lee, let me start with you, please. Tell us your thoughts, just as an objective observer watching both sides present here. Tell us what you're thinking this morning about Carly Gregg.
Well, I'm going to give you a perspective of both sides. One perspective is that here you have somebody who is answering questions, seems to understand which hand she used it with, was not questioning the incident, and just seemed to have it somewhat together, which is going to have one particular juror or many particular jurors question whether or not she was actually under some type of mental distress. On the other hand, here you have a young girl, a kid, a baby, who just went through this horrific incident, and her mannerisms are calm. They're unusual for what I think an everyday layperson would probably consider that a person who went through such a traumatic event would act. So it's going to be very interesting how the attorneys use the visual of this video to explain whether she was under some type of mental distress or not.
Lee, thank you. Eric, want to get your thoughts, please. Tell us what you're thinking as you're observing this trial from afar.
Well, this is not a whodunit, it's a why. Why did this happen? I mean, we look at the McNaughton test. Did she appreciate the consequences of her actions? And, you know, insanity defenses are a tough sell. They're not very popular. They're like pineapple pizzas. I mean, some people might take a pineapple pizza or a jury, but some are not going to have it. And you look at her, she's not acting what people think when you think insane, like crazy. But the defense needs to show that she was under a mental defect, and it's going to be a tough sell. They want the jury to, they're hearing from lay witnesses, expert witnesses. They heard from the psychiatrist. They heard about the father's mental health history, the bipolar diagnosis, the medication that was not helping her or not the right medication. But when you look at this as a layperson, when you watch it, I mean, you're looking at a child, and you want to say, is this a monster? Because the acts that happened here that she did, because she admitted it, because you have to in a sanity defense, are monstrous acts. Is she a monster, or did she not appreciate the consequences of her action? Was there some mental defect going on at the time that she committed this? And we're looking at video from body-worn camera from law enforcement from before and after. And it's a tough sell, but there is a lot of sympathy for this acne-ridden young girl, and you feel for her, but the acts are just so horrendous here in this case.
Right, Eric, thank you. I want you and Lee to stand by kindly, please. We're going to hit our first break of the hour. When we come back, we're going to hear from the defense team's forensic psychiatrist who evaluated Carly after the shootings. And let me tell you, he was a good witness for the defense.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan.
In every story, in every trial, every case, there's at least two sides to it.
To dive into the latest.
Oh my God.
And breaking true crime stories.
This was a very targeted, very personal attack.
Inside.
I've never seen that in Discovery. I've been incarcerated 3 years.
And outside of the courtroom.
She's a psychopath.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central. Only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. We've got testimony resuming this hour, actually, in just a couple of minutes in the deadly daughter murder trial. 15-year-old Carly Gregg is the accused of murdering her mother, accused of trying to murder her stepdad. Prosecutors are alleging that she killed them in the family home and that it was a cold-blooded killing, or killed her mother rather, and tried to kill her stepfather. They're saying she was living this secret life, got a burner phone, using drugs, lots of things. They said she was trying to lure her stepdad to his death. But then we've got the defense saying that no, she was insane at the time. She was suffering from mental health difficulties. She didn't know right from wrong. Look at her. Now, let's play a clip from forensic psychiatrist who testified for the defense.
I got involved because Attorney Camp gave me a call somewhere around the middle of August and asked whether I might be available to do an evaluation.
Okay. And what, if any, records did you initially review?
What I did at first, I suggested to Attorney Camp that I might just spend a few hours looking at the initial records that he could provide me before I agreed to go any further. And so Attorney Camp sent me a number of different records. I actually can't recall specifically which ones they were, but a fair number of records regarding the case. And
do you recall what kind of records these were?
They were treatment records for Carly from her therapist and from Precise Medical from early 2024. I believe there were treatment records from her earlier years as well, and there were some police reports as well.
Okay. And what about any journals?
I believe in that initial batch there had been some written journals that had been found at the residence.
Okay. And did that include any sketches?
I believe there was a sketchbook as well, yes.
What all did you do as a part of your evaluation of Carly?
So what I did is kind of the second phase. After having reviewed those records, I spoke to Attorney Camp and suggested I wasn't sure that I was going to be helpful, but I thought it'd be worth my coming down to Mississippi and interview her. And so I came down here and interviewed Carly for about 4 hours on August 29th of this year.
Was anybody else present during that evaluation?
You were present during that evaluation.
Anyone else?
No.
And where did you interview Carly?
That was right here at the I think it's Rankin County Detention Center.
Okay. And after your evaluation of Carly, did you have an opportunity to review anything else?
Yes. So after the evaluation, my evaluation of Carly, I received some treatment records from Vital Core, which were her psychiatric treatment records from the correctional facility. I then wrote a report. And then subsequent to my report, I received a copy of the state's experts report. In addition to that, I did a video interview with Mr. Heath Smylie, Carly's stepfather, for about 90 minutes on August 31st, just 2 days after I had seen her.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yeah. Joe, whatever you got to counsel opposite first, unless it's already in evidence.
And I'm handing you a copy right there of a document. Can you tell me what that document is?
This is a copy of my written report dated September 3rd, 2024.
Okay. And can you tell by looking at your report what the date of your evaluation of Ms. Gregg was?
It was August 29th, 2024.
Okay. And is the document I gave you a true and accurate copy of the report you compiled?
I believe that it is, yes.
And if you need to, take a minute to flip through and make sure.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. And did you sign that report?
I'm sorry?
And did you sign that report?
I did, yes.
Okay. And does your report include a list of any documents you reviewed?
It does, yes.
Does your report also include the list of anybody you spoke to in regards to putting this report together?
It is lacking one interview that I did, which I did not rely on. I spoke somewhat briefly with Ms. Vicki Breland, who's Carly's maternal grandmother, on, I believe it would have been September 1st. I chose not to utilize that information and so didn't rely on it in my report and so didn't list it.
So You didn't list it because you didn't rely on it in your report.
Correct.
And does your report include a true and accurate summary of the interview and your mental health evaluation of Ms. Gregg?
Yes.
Okay. Does it also include your opinions?
It does.
Your Honor, we would ask, and is it labeled psychiatric evaluation report?
It is.
And what's the date on that report?
September 3rd, 2024.
Okay. Your Honor, we would ask that Dr. Clark's report be admitted into evidence.
Objection, Your Honor.
Y'all approach.
Dr. Clark, you've been tendered as an expert, and did you base your expert opinion on any facts or data that you've been made personally aware of?
Yes, I base my expert opinion on my training, my experience, my knowledge of the literature, and on the information that I gathered as a part of this evaluation.
And did you also base your opinion on facts and data in this matter that you personally observed?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me what you personally observed that you based your opinion on?
So what I personally observed was my 4-hour interview with Carly, my 90-minute video interview with Mr. Heath Smylie. I then reviewed a large quantity of records, including some videos and some still photographs. So I guess that's personal observation.
Okay. And were you able to after observing and reviewing the records and your interview with Carly, were you able to come to an opinion as to the ultimate fact in this matter?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
and is that contained in your report?
Yes. Okay. Just to be clear, I guess I came to an opinion regarding the McNaughton issue in this matter.
And that's contained in your report?
It is. Okay. I will say my position is that the final decision as to whether or not Carly Gregg meets criteria for the McNaughton standard is one that is most appropriately left to the finders of fact. It's not my job, not my business. And I feel I'd be usurping their responsibility. So I didn't answer that ultimate question, but I believe that I provided enough information to allow the finders of fact to use that information in their deliberations.
Dr. Andrew Clark did, as I like to say, tip the scales of justice in this case in favor of the defense. As he should, right? That's his job. That's the job that he's been hired to do. I thought he was sensational. What did you think of him? Hit us up on social media. Let us know. Now, as we're getting ready to go into the courtroom, we're seeing a little bit of movement. The jury's not in the box yet, but we're standing by and waiting for that to happen. Let's bring in our legal analyst guests, Lee Hutton and Eric Schwartzreich, on the program this morning. Eric, let me start with you, please. And when we think about defense work, that's what you do. You practice criminal defense work in Florida. Your thoughts on Dr. Andrew Clark? Would you want him as your case witness?
So I think he comes across very well. When expert witnesses testify, that's usually when the jury is asleep. They can be boring. They can speak in language that's not understood. He's clear. He's concise. He has an uphill battle. He discussed this McNaughton test. Did Carly appreciate the consequences of her actions? The defense has a leg to stand on because this is not manufactured, right? He did an evaluation. He reviewed records that were supplied. Later, we find out that she was diagnosed with bipolar. It's also genetic mental health can be. Her biological father suffered from bipolar as well. That journal that was referenced, although we didn't see it in the clip, has comments where she was crying out for help. When you look at this child, because she's a child, she looks normal. The problem for the defense is she hit a camera. She called a friend to come over to the house. She said, "Do you want to see a dead body?" She said, "I'm going to put 3 more bullets in my stepfather." She ran, she fled. All of those actions to a layperson, to these jurors, they got to say, well, she has to understand what she's doing because she's trying to cover this up. She seems to understand, and I just think it's a difficult pill to swallow. There's certainly something to work with here because She's a child. There's sympathy. It's there. But if you really look at the actions, her actions are really difficult to show that this person, this child, didn't understand that she shot her mother to death and tried to kill her stepfather.
Yeah, great points. Eric, thank you for all of that. Lee Hutton, to you next, please. Your thoughts on this expert witness and how much weight the jury might give his testimony.
Well, the weight of the testimony the jury is going to give is going to be appropriate. I think the expert witness came off as a seasoned expert, and I'm not saying that in a disparaging way. He was confident in his conclusion. He stayed within his lane as an expert, not going too far to the left or to the right. And I agree with everything that Eric said. But is it enough to tip the scales of justice, as you stated earlier? I'm not sure if it was, because while you weigh the credibility in the explanation of the expert, there's a lot of visuals that I see. Now, here's where I'm emerged some of my entertainment law into my criminal defense practice. The first thing that I saw in the earlier video was this Nirvana shirt. Now, if there's any music fans out there, they know Nirvana was diagnosed with bipolar and had some issues. And, you know, there were so many other things that seemed very unusually scripted and calculated. And earlier testimony came out that here's a very smart individual, very smart girl. She even was so smart she was able to skip a grade. Are these things that were so calculated as communications cues that a juror is going to say, well, let's pause, let's wait a minute. I understand what the expert says, but she called her friend over. She has a Nirvana shirt. She doesn't appear, she appears to be a little bit more calculated in these activities, and to blame it on some type of mental distress, I'm not sure if that's going to fly the day. The defense still has a lot of work to do.
Lee Hutton, I love what you picked up on there. Never thought of that, but the connection you just made, brilliant. Brilliant. Her defense team should be all over that, to say it in close. Look at her shirt. Kurt Cobain, the late, great Kurt Cobain, suffered from bipolar disorder. And you just mentioned that, and that's what we know that Dr. Andrew Clark said was going on with Carly Gregg at the time, that she's suffering from bipolar disorder and not properly being, treated and medicated, I guess, the switch in medications, all these different factors contributing. Oh, I love it. Eric, let me go back to you on that. You were nodding along as Lee was making that connection. Your thoughts, what would you do with that in close? Would you bring up that shirt?
Well, I think Lee's point is excellent, right? I mean, she is wearing a Nirvana shirt. I mean, she's a child. So, I mean, there's two sides to every coin, especially as a lawyer. Prosecution can say, well, this is calculated. This is the child that tried to run. This is the child that took a camera and hid it in a refrigerator, and that this is just part of a facade. The defense can say this is who she identifies with. I mean, Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, someone that has mental health issues. So you can run with it, but you have to be careful, because for every argument, there's a counter argument. I think Lee's point is an excellent point. I think it's an astute and excellent observation. And she is wearing that Nirvana shirt. I mean, or is she just a regular teenager? I mean, the problem is these acts are so heinous. And when you look at this child, I mean, she's acting normal. And did she appreciate the consequences of her action at the time? They have a leg to stand on. I think it's a tough sell. I don't think it's impossible. As defense lawyers, you got to believe, you got to manifest it. I don't think they're like coming out of thin air here with this defense. They have nothing else, but it's a dangerous defense when you use sanity, because you're admitting to the facts. You have to cooperate with the prosecution. It's going to be a battle of the experts. The prosecution expert's going to come on there. And while we didn't see that clip, and if I'm talking too much, I apologize, but the cross-examination, which I watched, was really brutal, because, the state methodically asked the questions, and I'm paraphrasing. When she called her friend, did she not appreciate the consequence of the actions? When she took the camera, put in the fridge, did she not appreciate the consequence of the actions? She did a lot that shows that she was trying to cover something up that she was perhaps sane and understood everything. And that's the difficulty, at least for me.
Right, right, Eric. I'm with you there. She knew how many rounds were in that revolver. She said, I got 3 from my mom and 3 from my stepdad. The fact that she had the wherewithal to hide that revolver behind her back when she's in front of the camera. Twice we saw her do it. So yes, point well taken. This is a tricky case. Excellent analysis from you both. Eric Schwartzreich, Lee Hutton, stand by kindly, please. We're getting word there's a little movement in the courtroom, and there is little Carly Gregg heading to counsel table to sit in between her attorneys dressed in navy blue, looking perfectly court appropriate for her homicide trial. She's 15 years old. We'll be right back.